Well, God's story would continue and things would get rough. Yet God decided to not leave the people. People left God, but he would continue to journey with them. And we see in Genesis chapter 4 through 11, the world just falling apart. Yeah, but Genesis 12, God chooses Abraham. And he makes a promise to make a great nation out of a couple that could not have kids. And God gave them a child at a very old age. And this child would be the beginning of a family line that would turn into a great nation. And by the time we get to the book of Exodus, that great nation is growing. But the great nation was enslaved to Pharaoh. So God chose Moses to be the one who would go to Pharaoh and tell him to let the people go. Now, Moses wasn't sure about this, but God said it was a really good idea. So Moses went with Aaron, and Moses told the Pharaoh to let the people go, but he would not. So God brought plagues upon the people. First was water to blood. The second, infestation with frogs. Third, infestation of gnats. Fourth plague, flies. The fifth, Egyptian livestock dying. Sixth, boils. The seventh, hail, destroying crops. The eighth, locusts. The ninth, darkness. And the 10th plague was the threat of the firstborn of both child and animal in the homes of the Egyptians. And this is where, with this last plague, God speaks specifically to Moses about what he is to do. And we hear that as we look at Exodus chapter 12. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, "This month shall be for you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year for you. Tell the congregations of Israel that on the 10th day of this month, every man shall take a lamb, according to their fathers' houses, a lamb for a household. And if the household is too small for a lamb, then he and his nearest neighbor shall take according to the number of persons. According to each can eat, you shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male, a year old. You may take it from the sheep or from the goats, and you shall keep it until the 14th day of this month, when the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill their lambs at twilight. Then they shall take some of the blood and put it on the 2 doorposts, the lintels of the house in which they eat it. They shall eat the flesh that night, roasted on the fire. With unleavened bread and bitter herbs they shall eat it. Do not eat of it raw or boiled in water, but roasted, its head with its legs and its inner parts. And you shall let none of it remain until the morning. Anything that remains until the morning you shall burn. In this manner you shall eat it, with your belt fastened, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand. You shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt that night, and I will strike down the firstborn of the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and on all the gods of Egypt I will execute my judgment. I am the Lord. The blood shall be a sign for you on the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and no plague will befall you or destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt. This day shall be for you a memorial day, and you shall keep it as a feast to the Lord throughout your generations. As a statute forever, you shall keep it as a feast." See, these instructions were very important. God said, the blood over the doorposts, protect them from the angel of death. A meal to celebrate what God is doing. And that this people was called to celebrate this meal every year. Because what happened after this meal? God said, "Leave with haste." And he brought them out of Egypt, through the Red Sea, and then eventually into the Promised Land. And every year, what would they celebrate? A meal a meal where God rescues and saves, a meal that remembers the blood on the doorpost and a lamb that was slain. Now, they would keep celebrating and celebrating and celebrating and celebrating for a really long time until about 1400 years later, there was a very special meal. Let's check it out.